Yeah, I can certainly bring that up. Yeah.
So it changes.
Good afternoon. We're starting a little early because we have a great program today and I don't want to cut them short, and we have 2 new members joining today. Yay. So, welcome to the March 3rd, 2022 meeting of the Rotary Club of Gastonia, where our theme is up here. Learn to change lives. There it is. You only have to remember it for 4 more months. Please silence any noise-making devices. And if you're on Zoom, please make sure you're muted. And cart buckets, don't forget cart buckets in front of you. Make sure you make a donation for Alzheimer's research. And I'm going to call up James Smith for Song, Fellowship, and Pledge.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
That's okay. It's still afternoon. I'd like to ask my good friend Sharon Patchett to stand up. Today, our song is about sunshine. And the sun has come in from outside.
Yes. And Joan Martin.
And Joan Martin.
Yes.
Yep.
Highlighter. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Today's song is "You Are My Sunshine." There we go. And it's kind of covered up there, but don't get lost on repeating the last line. Stand up. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when the skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. Please don't take my sunshine away. Happy sunshine. Now, as you are comfortable, if you would turn and greet your fellow Rotarians. We have a flag. Please join me in the pledge of allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is Richard on Zoom or not? Did he join?
Yes.
There he is. Okay, Richard Abernathy, through modern technology, is going to do our invocation.
Bow with me, please. Heavenly Father, thank you for the gift of Rotary. Thank you for the opportunity to come together, both in person and through technology, so that we can join and do the business of Rotary. We thank you for the many blessings that you have given us and for the blessings that Rotary gives around the world. Help us to remember that we need to meet the needs of others. Help us to enjoy this moment of fellowship around these tables, and from the speakers that we will hear from, that we can learn more about living in peace together. In your name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Richard. Our Rotary inspiration today is, I think what's going on in Russia and Ukraine is on everybody's minds in some way or another. And I wanted to share with you that Rotary International has made an official statement about the conflict. Go ahead and read this. It is a tragic and sad time for the people in Ukraine and the world. At Rotary, we are deeply concerned by the deteriorating situation in Ukraine and the escalating loss of life and humanitarian hardship there. Continued military action against Ukraine will not only devastate the region, but also risk spreading tragic consequences across Europe and the world. As one of the world's largest humanitarian organizations, we have made peace the cornerstone of our global mission. We join the international community in calling for an immediate ceasefire, withdrawal of Russian forces, and a restoration of diplomatic efforts to resolve this conflict through dialogue. In the past decade, Rotary clubs in Ukraine, Russia, and nearby countries have transcended national differences and have actively engaged in peace-building projects to promote goodwill and to marshal assistance for the victims of war and violence. Today, our thoughts are with our fellow Rotary members and others in Ukraine coping with these tragic events. Rotary International will do everything in its power to bring aid, support, and peace to the region. I just wanted to make sure you knew that as part of an international organization, as it says in the statement, we have Rotary clubs in Russia and we have Rotary clubs in Ukraine, and they have tried to work together and to build peace, just like what we're trying to do with our speakers today. So I just thought it was appropriate for us to hear that message. Health and happiness is Walter Hawks.
Hold your applause, please. Welcome to Rotary Club on this beautiful March the 3rd, beautiful day outside. Are there any guests here, Matt?
I can introduce my beautiful mom and dad over with you. I'm very blessed to have her with you today. Let me give it.
Yes, sir.
Like today, Fred is Fred Silverman. Fred having him today. Okay, you'll get something.
Great. Thank you. Who else? That it? Okay, if y'all can help me out with health news, but I do know that B.F. Beasley is continuing his recovery. So I want everybody to know that. Yeah.
I actually have two. Richard, I hope it's okay to say that while you're not in here in person, he has a pinched nerve. And so he was not feeling well to travel. But the other one that's more serious is our member Kemp Hooper was in the emergency room at Nova in Huntersville a couple days ago. And it turned, they were not sure what his diagnosis was. They admitted him overnight. I have heard from his wife Jane that it is sepsis. So he's not in great shape right now and needs our prayers.
How about Sunday? How's Sunday going?
I don't, anybody have an update on Sunday?
She is,
No news is good news, I would assume.
right. She is continuing to post on Facebook, so I think that means she's doing better.
Can you hear me, or did our esteemed president break the mic? Notorious names in the news. I generally like to lay off my health and happiness associates, but the charitable YMCA has opened up, moving into a new place, and the chief executive officer is a Gaston wife, happens to be a member of our club. Sharon?
Yes. March 24th, 4 o'clock.
There was a nice article the other day in the paper about a lot of folks who are running for office. And I thought that since they always love PR, I would say their names. I don't see many of them here. Ronnie Worley, anybody from Cramerton? No? Jesse Caldwell, he's not here. Gus Anthony. But I do see Locke Bell sitting back there. Locke is not running for anything, but I just thought I'd
But
bring
if
it.
you mentioned it,
I thought I'd bring his name up. And Joan Martin, and this may have come up last week, I'm not sure, but she has been awarded the, was it the Martin Luther King Unity Award? Congratulations. Do we have any happy dogs? Well, no, Donna.
Calls for a 20.
You want to say?
Oh, just thank you very much. Thank you. I'm really touched, and I have to give Ray Hamam and Mark Epstein a lot of credit for my receiving that award because of our Interfaith Trialogue. So thank you very much.
My wife was diagnosed with congestive heart failure in October. It was no blockage, the heart muscle was malfunctioning. She went on medication, and as of 2 weeks ago, her heart is back up to normal again. So we're happy with that.
Our own Sharon Pageant has completed part 2 of our LI.
Oh, my goodness.
I know, I'm gonna keep it short.
That'll be a first.
I'm so happy, I'm gonna give $5. It's gonna be a beautiful day tomorrow. Our church, First United Methodist men are cooking hot dogs again, we're gonna eat inside. So a lot of us here that work on that, y'all come and enjoy with us, it's for the community. Thank you.
At Caldwell Chevrolet in Clover, starting our 20th year tomorrow. $20 for that. Oh, my wife's still speaking to me after we came back from Antarctica.
I want you to know that we did show that picture and we all thought about you.
Just paying off my tab for not being in person.
Right.
Anything else? Any more happy dollars? Stephen Long is not here, and I was going to copy him and tell you some of the little jokes that he does, but they are so fall on the ground, laugh out loud, that I decided I would not do that this soon after eating, but I do have a couple of things to share with you. This is for the women. women sometimes make fools of men. But most of the time, the guys do it themselves. And before I criticize a man, I like to walk a mile in his shoes. That way, when I criticize him, he'll be a mile away and I'll have his shoes. Here's the one that solved the mystery for me since my childhood. They have discovered Noah's diary, and they translated, and the entry on day 36 reads, "The unicorn pie was really delicious." Is there anything else for the good of this club? We can talk about? No?
We have a sticker ripping. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Oh, Pat. Okay. We're gonna do 2 sticker rippings. Come on.
So old, it's sort of melded into the.
Well, there are some people who really qualified for sticker ripping, and then we weren't meeting in person, so it's kind of hard to do that
Pat's one of
virtually.
them.
Pat is one of them. He has been very patient about this.
Yes.
But that the sticker rip means that a new member has completed all the items on the checklist, including going to a board meeting, participating in a service project, bringing a guest to Rotary, having good attendance. So we appreciate that these new members are getting involved and getting these things checked off. So thank you.
There you go.
Awesome. I also want to point out, we do have another guest on Emily Winfrey. Go ahead and wave, Emily. She's up there. Emily is a prospective member, so she also works at the library. You know how it is when you retire and it takes more people to take over your duties, so. So, and Jennifer, I see you there. There's Richard and Linda McConnell and Lisa Bristay out of here. Do any of you have anything for the good of the club to share? Okay. All right, we'll move on to our new member installation. So if I can have Dan and Jenna come forward, please. Is that acceptable? I told Jen I wanted to have your picture and I just went to Facebook and grabbed something.
Switch places to make it line.
Oh, well, you could. Yeah, I got this one from Facebook too. Right. Trey, you can come up too. All right. Right. Fellow Rotarians, it is my privilege and pleasure today to welcome into membership in our club, Dan Comerford, whose sponsors are Will Current and Barbara Voorhees, and mentor is Davidson Hobson. And Jenna Winters, whose sponsor is Trey Pruitt, and I forgot who your mentor is, but we'll. Me! Oh, Sharon! I looked in my notes and couldn't find it, so Sharon Paget will be your mentor. Yeah. These membership proposals have been reviewed and approved in accordance with the Constitution and bylaws of our club. So sponsors, I'm going to give you a minute to introduce the new members.
Well, wasn't prepared for this, but
Sorry.
Jenna Winters, she is born and raised in Gaston. Her husband Charles Winters is also from Gaston. They went to Gaston Christian. They have 2 children, Hallie Ann and Charlotte, that are 11 and 6. So Jenna has ran her family business, Junior Cotillion, National League of Junior Cotillion for 11-ish years. And she has recently started a new job as a mortgage banker with
Atlantic Bay Mortgage Group.
Atlantic Bay Mortgage Group. So she was here to help you on any of your needs or children's needs.
Okay. And Donna Lockett is in our family as well. It's my husband's aunt. So I'm excited that.
We'll be happy that she's here.
Great. Thank you.
We're happy to, the Presbyterian contingent in this club is happy to introduce Dan Comerford, who began as the senior pastor at First Presbyterian on July 1st. Dan is a native of Minnesota, grew up outside Minneapolis. He attended Bethel University in St. Paul, Minnesota, and then got religion and went to Union Theological Seminary in Richmond, Virginia, to become a Presbyterian minister. Interesting story, though. He started as in a non-denominational church. Bethel University is a Baptist school, but he got religion, and he found his way home. But anyway, he's married to Rachel. They have 2 children, a 6-year-old daughter, Hannah, and is he almost 2? Almost 3. Micah, who is a mini-me of Dan. So we are so pleased to welcome him, and will conclude the introduction.
I'll just add, as serving on the search committee, when we met Dan, the word that came up again and again was authentic. So as you get to know him, you will see he has a servant's heart and has an excellent Rotarian. And a point of theological discussion, does he get religion, or is it religion? Talk amongst yourselves.
Ask Stephen over there, he'll explain that.
Well, I think this is perfectly appropriate that you're being installed on the day that we're talking about interfaith. So welcome aboard. Dan and Jenna, we now proceed to admit you into membership in the Rotary Club of Gastonia, and so to the fellowship and family of Rotary in District 7680 and throughout the world. It has already been explained to you that the ideal of Rotary is service. Our principal motto is service above self, and the object of this club and all Rotary clubs is to encourage and foster this ideal as a basis of worthy enterprise. You are to share in this effort through your participation in local, regional, and even international service opportunities. At the same time, you will learn new things through our weekly programs and join in the fun and fellowship of our Rotary family. Now I have the pleasure of asking your sponsors to pin on your Rotary emblem, which we hope you will wear daily and with pride. And they're actually magnetic, so that makes it easier. I guess I should have asked if you have a pacemaker before I give you that. All right. We are also presenting you with it's a framed copy of the 4-way test for them to put in their office, and also a membership packet with lots of information about our club. And make sure that you have the right certificate. Congratulations and welcome to our clubs right behind there. Nope. Thought I had right. You are now the newest Rotarians in the world, joining over 1.4 million fellow Rotarians. Club members, I'm happy to present to you Rotarians Dan Comerford and Jenna Winters, our newest members. At the end of the meeting to stand at the door so that everybody can reach you and welcome you. Okay, now we're going to go forward. I do not have any announcements this week, so we're going to go forward to ask Joan to come up. This week's program is about the Gaston Interfaith Trialogue, and you're going to learn all about it from Joan and our 2 guest speakers. Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be here. Of course, I have the great privilege and honor to introduce to you from the Islamic Society of Gastonia. This is Ray Hamam. And also from our Temple Emmanuel, Dr. Mark Epstein. They're going to join me today as we talk about the Interfaith Trialogue. We also have a couple other important people in our group. We have a steering committee that runs the Interfaith Trialogue, and Stephen Fuller, Reverend Stephen Fuller is one of the members, and also Matt's mom, Linda Gibbons, who's visiting us today. We're just delighted that she's here as well. Also, Chris Vigato, Reverend Chris Vigato from New Hope Presbyterian Church is part of the steering committee, as well as Mr. Bill Gross. A lot of you know Bill Gross too, so we've got, am I forgetting anyone? Oh, Sam Shakuri. Sam Shakuri from the Islamic Society of Gastonia. So if you guys would like to come up, and we'll have Mark and Ray come and join me, and we'll talk about the interfaith. We've got our slide presentation, and we'll just go through our slides. Okay. So in case you didn't know the date and where we are, and who we are, as you can tell, we've got the Star of David, the cross, and also the symbol for Islam. What's the name of it? The crescent?
The crescent.
The crescent. And this just tells you about our background. Get some of this out of the way.
Yeah, I want to take care of that.
Okay. So in a nutshell, we're devoted to the gathering of Jewish, Christians, Muslims. We work to enhance and promote peace, understanding, and fellowship among the Abrahamic faith here in Gaston County. Would it be better if we stood out there and looked up at it? Yeah. Next slide, please. I want to be impressed with it. We're not going to go into all of this, but just want to say that whenever we had a discussion, we have a plenary group. We've had as many as, 50 people to come. We meet in various churches. We meet at the synagogue. We meet at the temple. We meet at the temple and at the mosque. We always hand this out at the beginning. And the point is no proselytizing. If you are coming to be with us, it's more to be respectful and to listen and not to try to convert someone to your faith. So that's really what this is, kind of rules of engagement. So I think we can go to the next slide too. Thanks, Frank. Here's some of our meeting places. Temple Emmanuel, obviously, the Islamic Center. We've met at First Methodist quite a bit, and also First Presbyterian. So you Methodists and Presbyterians should be proud. Yeah. Oh, and this is I don't want to be the only one talking today. Somebody else. Go ahead, Rick.
Point of this is that we, it's not simply a matter of meeting monthly, which we have long done, except during COVID, and we will start those again. I think we'll give you an idea about that timeline, but there's many other public programs that we do, not just for our meeting, but although anybody's invited to that. But you can see kind of actually a small list of the kinds of things that we have done more in the public eye. So there are walks for peace, there are public education programs, nationally renowned speakers that we bring in from different faiths, locally renowned speakers that come to these programs as well. So this is a short list and a partial list. And I'll let you kind of narrate.
Yes, this picture was taken in the early 2004, perhaps maybe. Lost a couple pounds since then. You see Dennis Fleming from Queen of Apostles, yes, and Mike Johnson, I think he was from the hospital. He was a chaplain there, and that was one of our early meetings that we've had. I think it was taking place, if I'm not mistaken, at Unity Place downtown in Gaston. This is a Gazette cover 2007 highlighted our interfaith process, and we talked about, really highlighted our core relationship between Temple Emmanuel and Islamic Society, and it certainly brought forth to the community what really our vision and our mission was. More of the story there and some of the attendees of that.
Yeah, and this is one of the meetings of our steering committee. I think I've covered all of the members. We've had some folks to come and go. Yeah, but, and you can see Bill Gross at the head of the table. And Mark wrote this Trifaith open letter to the Gazette. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, so I did not write this open letter to the Gazette. No, so, well, first, can I say something real quick about Gaston? Rotary Club? So as a proud member of Gastonia East, the Monday Club Rotary, I just wanted to say that you people don't look nearly as old as they say that you may be largely more generous with health and happiness too. So this was you have to kind of go back and remember this organization, very loose organization. There's no bylaws, none of that.
We don't even have any money.
Yeah. So, it was consecrated in the months after 9/11. Let me just begin with that. And that was Ray and Sam from the mosque. It was Bill and Dennis Teal Fleming that you saw here, like just 3 or 4 people literally right in those weeks and months. And Dr. Brown from the temple was there. And this was before anybody even thought about these communities being together. Because you remember how scared you were. Do you remember that? You remember how angry you were? Do you remember? Yeah. You never knew what shoe was going to drop next. And meanwhile, unbeknownst to us, the folks at the mosque, they were equally scared to go out in public in hijab or anything else that might identify them as Muslim, because of the verbal abuse they might get, because of the physical abuse they might get, and so on and so forth. Everybody was scared. We were very angry, and the temple was not immune to that for sure. So it was actually Dennis from the Queen of Apostles that reached out to Bill and Charlie at the temple and said, "Do you want to go maybe make a call to the mosque?" And so they did. And then over many months, and I got involved maybe a couple of years later, because it took a while to begin to build even a modicum of trust at that time. And it has kind of ballooned and grown since then. Well, periodically, of course, there are horrific things that happen in the world. There was a moment when there was a particularly egregious terrorist event, and people kind of reverted a little bit back into this model of, at that time, mostly Islamophobia. Anti-Semitism was a little bit more low grade then. Fortunately, that is now bad. But we put this together, these folks, the signatories are on the right, some 20 or 30, both lay people and clergy as well. That basically was a declaration of principles that included the idea about condemning violence in the name of religion, if you want to get right down to it. Because that was a critique, frankly, of Islam. They won't condemn violence in the name of their faith, but here we are having people doing exactly that. So it was a counter narrative to a popular trope that was going on at the time. And so this list of signatories, once it's got published in the Gazette, it's probably 3 times more signatories than that that emerged after that. So that's what this is. I did not compose it. I gave you the skeleton of it, but it was composed with a list of people within the context of the trial.
This is just one example of our meetings. This one is First Baptist Church. Thank you, Stephen. Yeah. And we've got one more of that as well. If you don't mind moving it ahead one. Yeah. Quite a crowd. You can get quite a crowd. One more. And this was a great meeting at Temple Emmanuel. Remember when Charlie was singing and he showed us he played the shofar, which is help me out. Ram's horn. I'm telling you, the words are getting older. They're falling out of my ears. I can't remember. So Ram's horn, it was really a great meeting.
I love
for all of
that.
us.
Remember the Hebrew word for it.
Shofar. I miss the English. Next one. And this is Ray and me, in case you couldn't tell. That was a wonderful experience because I had to wear a scarf and all the women told me how nice I looked. And it was just really great. We had a wonderful time that night. And we can go on to the next. We have a walk for peace. We have not done it for a couple of years, obviously. Looking forward to doing that possibly in the fall. And we've got some pictures of the last one that we did. And this was where we stopped at the Temple Emmanuel. And we walked along South New Hope Road. I will tell you one thing about that. When we were walking, Ray and I talked about this. We felt kind of vulnerable because anybody could have shot at us at any time. I mean, you know, we just don't know who's going to come out of the woodwork and hatred of this kind of thing. So we felt very vulnerable doing that, but also very proud and strong. We stood together. And there's another shot of that. Oh, and we picked the very hottest day of the year that we possibly could. It was like 95 degrees. So kudos to us for being out there. This is when we ended up at the Islamic Center. And God, thank you so much, Ray.
Yes.
These folks, they gave us a wonderful little Abrahamic meal. It consisted of dates
And pastries and juices and things.
It was just wonderful. So, and for them, you talk about the kids.
Yes, as you can see there, it was a very hot summer afternoon, late morning, that moment there when we arrived at some center. And they were very hospitable and very great to see all that crowd coming in. Of course, we were escorted by a couple of police escorts, and all the children were very excited, and as you can see, clapping. And they keep asking me now, and since then, they grew a couple of years older now, and they keep asking me, when is the next Walk for Peace, because we want to participate. So it's fantastic that it really touched the youth's heart in our community.
We had some fellowship.
Sure.
What a crowd. Wow. And the GC3, very much support between GC3 and the Interfaith Trialogue. We thank Donna Lockett for that. It's beautiful. And we also stand with our law enforcement as well. They were there for the MLK Award. Oh, this was really great. Dr. Elizabeth Pope. Mark, talk about that. Elizabeth,
I was contacted by a graduate student going to the University of Georgia. She pursued her master's in Islamic studies, and her PhD was in interfaith dialogues, and I can't remember the actual name of the program. Interfaith dialogue and perspective transformation. So the idea here is that as we sit up here and talk to you about people coming together of different faiths, people actually upset, angry, and scared of each other, and that we can kind of testify now, many years later, that minds change, minds can change. The problem is that for some people, it's all a bunch of mumbo jumbo, hocus pocus, kumbaya nonsense, right? That it's you can talk, you can be as goody means, if that makes you happy, but does it really transform? And there was nothing, believe it or not, in the scientific or social scientific literature that type of thing called transformative learning actually can occur. Actually, really does or does not occur when it's put in. So I don't know how she came to reach out to us, but she contacted me. At the end of the day, her dissertation, her PhD dissertation, was to come up from Georgia, from Athens, and she spent a year with us. She interviewed a number of us before, during, and after. She recorded all of our sessions, and however they kind of go through and they figure stuff out. And it's a field of study. And at the end of the day, just the squirrel alert is that it was the first time it had been could be documented that yes, transformative learning in the context of interfaith dialogue not only can occur, does occur. And then that was her dissertation. And now from that dissertation, I think she's gotten 3 papers published out of that, and she's still working on others that will continue to come out. So my point being is that although we can testify to the benefit with us in our little community here in our little pea patch, that hopefully this will inform others throughout. Many people are trying to do this, but now there's some scientific backing to it, that it's not just hypothetical and it's not just a nicety. It really is going to be a fundamental change within people, and of course, by extension, with the community. So this is her receiving her dissertation, I think. Yeah. Or receiving a PhD, actually. Yeah. We gave her this.
We've also been commended by the county commissioners. That was really big for us because, you know, we had been kind of meeting under the radar and just wondered if you know, how many anti-Semites are out there, how many anti-Islam, you know, and just, you know, we were working on our own love for each other and trying to trust one another. And then for Tom Kager to suggest that we have this commendation was really, really big.
And we didn't even vote for him, but that's.
And I have that in my office. I love that. Yeah. Let's see what's next. And just, we stand together with Gaston County too. I've got a little story I want to share. How I got involved with this was, you know, when I was younger, how do I put this? You know, everybody's had difficulties in their lives, and I've been marginalized. I've had people steal my work. I was harassed at work years ago. And I thought, if I ever get any kind of power at all, I'm going to help other people who are powerless. So I got this big idea that I was going to help the folks at the mosque. So I called, oh gosh. Again, the words are falling out of my head. I called another, and no one ever returned my call from the mosque. I called the mosque. Thank you, Gaston Baruch. I called Gaston and left a message. No one ever called back. So I don't know why, but I got in touch with Bill Gross, and I left him a voice message, and he got back to me 6 months later. And just out of the blue, and he says, "I'll meet you at Bellacino's for lunch. Want to talk about this? What you can do for us with the Interfaith Trialogue." And I'll never, ever, ever forget eating our pizza and talking about, you know, what is this weird middle-aged woman, white woman, want to do for us, this Christian minister. And I was telling him, you know, my family has some real strong connections with Jews. My mother, her family grew up in a Jewish neighborhood, although they were German Lutheran, they grew up around a lot of Jews. And my brother is writing a book. He has been for 30 years. He's a professor at Campbell, and he's been writing this book about the Jews in North Carolina. And so, you know, we've had this real strong connection. And I was explaining to Bill, and he said, "That's all well and good." He said, "Things are good now. What if the tide turns? What if people are attacking us? Would you still have my back?" And I thought for a second and said, "Yes, I will." And that gave me immediate access to the Gaston Interfaith Trialogue. No, seriously, I mean, that's when we all met, and I met Ray for the first time. We met at, we go to these high-class places. We went to the Olive Garden. And there's Ray and Bill, and I'm, you know, we're in a booth, and they're sitting opposite me, and Ray's like, "Who is this woman, and what does she want?" and so forth and so on. But, you know, there was a lot of mistrust, and we managed to break that all down. We did, and you can too. That's the point I'm trying to make. We all can do this. And I commend what we've done, but I also ask for you to try to make that a part of your life as well. To put aside mistrust, distrust, the other, a fear of the other, and reach out and grow to learn one another, learn more.
A couple comments from the Jewish perspective, and a personal one as well. This is not just about trying to temper the flames of anti-Semitism or Islamophobia. That's an important part. Hopefully that's a positive outcome because it's so critical. Those are both toxic things to any culture, any country. Now, having said that, you know, I'm going to tell you from the Jewish perspective and growing up, there is a little bit of a schizophrenic relationship with Christianity. For Jews, for example, it's like, you know, Jews have like this allergy to the New Testament. Like, oh my gosh, I couldn't possibly read that. Like lightning will come out of the ceiling and smite us dead or something if you were to open a page and read it. So that's a problem, is my point. That's a huge problem because we can't understand Christianity, our Christian brethren, without having a little better understanding of the New Testament. And so that is a byproduct for the Jewish of our community and me personally, to have a more deeply held understanding of the Christian faith and where Christianity is coming from. And yes, we can point to stuff in the New Testament that seems very anti-Jewish to us, to our ears, and where we think a lot of ancient anti-Semitism occurred and where it's kind of bled into the 21st century. But frankly, you can look at the Old Testament and you can look at the Hebrew Bible and you're going to see fratricide, you're going to see forced conversion, you're going to see a lot of ugly stuff in there too. Obviously, people will point to stuff in the Quran too, have been, probably still do, and point out very uncharitable things about people who are not Muslim in their scripture as well. My point being is that it can be in all three of these sets of scripture, and it's our job to do the deeper dive, to do the hard work, and to understand how other people are seeing their own faith, kind of regardless of kind of the way we read it. How do they read it? That's kind of the important thing, and then talk about it. So I'm going to turn it over to Ray to kind of maybe flesh that out a little bit from a Muslim community perspective. The last thing I'm going to say is I turn it over to him. This is the segue, because I'll never forget one of the first times we were going, because these Trialogue meetings for a long time, you know, we were talking about like holidays and observances and rituals and things like that, kind of easy, low-hanging fruit to learn about each other a little bit, without necessarily right away going into some of this harder stuff. But I'll never forget, I was telling him, as we were breaking up the meeting, and I met Ray a few times, but we still didn't know each other all that well, I guess. And I said, really, because you find out there's all these similarities, man. I mean, there's really, yes, obviously there's big differences, which is why we're three different faiths, but a lot of similarities, like unbelievable amounts of similarities. And I went up to Ray and I said, so this was just so great, man. This was like, I felt like I learned so much. And there's a saying in the Talmud. The Talmud is like the commentary on the Hebrew Bible. It was developed over 300 or 400 years in the early part of the year 100 to 400, 500, something like that. And it goes like this. And this is like one of the famous sayings in the Talmudic literature that when people meet and they worship and they study together about God, and then he said, it means God rests between them. I said, what? How'd you know that? He goes, well, it's in the Quran. I said, what's in the Quran? It's in the Talmud. It's in the Quran. No, but it's in the Talmud. It's in the Quran. The exact same thing. I just blew me away. And I tell that story over and over again because it's like a metaphor for the experience of being in this kind of a trial.
They ask me, what do you get out of those interfaith trialogues? And I see, and I say very quickly, exactly that, is to deepen my faith and learn and research my own faith. So I dug deeper and learned about exactly that verse. And that's what I get personally. And I know others get different things to kind of enrich their own faith. The purpose of the Interfaith Trialogue really is to strengthen our community in Gaston County here, is to bring awareness that the other minority live among you. They are citizens just like you. So I think to put it in perspective is we all going in the same directions and we want to all be in the same, thinking of the same directions.
Yeah, so I was going to say, so we're all busy people. I mean, obviously tremendously busy people. And I'll maybe end with this and maybe open up for a few minutes of Q&A. That if you're interested in participating here, maybe it's just conversations, that all you do is give Joan your email address, she'll put you on the distribution email list, and when we have our next meetings, you can show up. The guidance is generally for people to sit and listen for a meeting or so before you start chiming in too much. So you get the flavor of it, right? You get the feel of it and the culture of it. With that in mind, it doesn't matter whether you're going, some people do come for spiritual upliftment. Some people go out of just like a academic curiosity about the faith. And some people go in with a, I'm gonna say, not with a chip on their shoulder exactly, but they come in so committed to their own faith, they can't possibly understand how somebody else could possibly believe something else. And so that is the kind of people, frankly, that most need to be there. So it doesn't matter kind of what your view is and kind of what your own spirituality is for almost any reason on any level. I think you find this a fascinating exercise for you. It will probably strengthen your own faith, as Ray has said. Nobody's going to walk into one of these meetings Jewish and come out Muslim, I guarantee you. This is not going to happen. Nobody's going to convert. Nobody's going to try to convert. And if somebody's really evangelical, and that has happened, then we have asked them to politely either stop or don't come, because that's not the point. We're coming from a position of curiosity and learning, not of telling other people how they should believe necessarily. So that's it. And I'll let Joan maybe tell us when the next one's going to be.
Now, Ramadan is going to start on April 2nd and it ends on May 1st, and we'll have another meeting after Ramadan, because we respect just how intense and absorbing the all you be absorbing.
It's exactly almost 16 hours of fasting, sustaining from food and liquid and water. So from sun up to sundown, we don't eat for 30 days. Of course, you try not to indulge too much after sunset. But it's a long 30 days. Typically, a faithful person would do a lot of praying at that time and do a lot of meditations at things like that. But thank you, guys. May, we're hoping May, the first week of May, perhaps maybe the middle week of May, we'll reconvene again on Interfaith.
Be sure to give me your email address so I can send you more information about that. Do we have any questions? Any Q&A time? Yes, Don.
All right. Right. I asked you a question. Tell me what to do to go to heaven. What would you say?
Got to come to the meeting, man.
Small there.
Yeah, right?
Can we put a couple of dollars on the table? Believe in God. That there is a God that created us. Believe in the angels. Believe that there are prophets. Believe that Adam and Abraham and Noah, that these are the old prophets that were sent by God to direct us into this life as we know it. We as Muslims believe, and a little bit furthermore, and we do practice. We pray 5 times a day, and we do extra charities, and we fast for the month of Ramadan, and so we do a little bit extra. But in a nutshell, believing in God, John, to answer your question. And I think that's, if I may just, that's what Abraham told us. I take it back a little bit, few decades before the Jewish faith. That's what Abraham told his followers, is to believe in God.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to let you know what a gem we have in these 3 people. And the work that they've done over 10 years. So.
Oh, no, since 9/11.
Yeah.
Oh, longer than that, yeah.
Oh,
Like 20 years.
20 years. I can't even do math. But I'll point out 2 things. One is that by being part of the Trialogue, participating in it, you learn how much you have in common with other faiths. What they say is exactly correct. It's like, you're just amazed. You focus most on what you have in common. The important thing is that what you don't know, you tend to fear. So by developing personal relationships with them and others in the Trialogue, you come to know people more, and your fears are not there. You realize your fears are unfounded. So I just commend the Trialogue to you all. Hopefully you'll be able to participate.
Sharing your story One little thing that I was able to participate in was after that horrific attack on the temple in Pittsburgh, there was a vigil held at St. Mark's. And there were a lot of people from the mosque there, and of course from Christian faiths. And that was very moving to me, and hopefully showed some support for our Jewish friends.
Yeah, can I just, don't you hear me okay, yes? The same thing happened in Houston, okay, and that community had done something very similar. They got quite as formal as what we do, and maybe not for as many years as we do, but they had strong relationships. And when, it's choked up, but when the wife of the rabbi, who was still a hostage at the time, was waiting at a school nearby or something like that, the people that came in were the women of the mosque. That's whose arms she fell into, because she knew them so well. So, and that, of course, so the answer to the question, circling back to that, if something were to happen here, 100% we're going to have the backing and the support of the Muslim and the Christian community here. 100%, if anything God forbid ever happens in mosque or anywhere else here, similar, the synagogue will be there as well. So look to Pittsburgh and Houston as the poster children for what the possibilities are.
Thank you. Next week's program, we're going to have Donna Groot Taylor to give us an update on the Gaston Aquatic Center that a lot of people are very interested in, and hope we can get that off the ground. And I want to say thank you to our visitors, our visiting, our visiting Rotarian, Dr. Mark Epstein, and our visitors, Linda Gibbons and Emily Winfrey, and Glenn Silverman, who I want to point out is the twin brother from another mother of Dr. Epstein. Look at them next to each other and you'll see that. So let's end our meeting. Please stand and say the four-way test of the things we think, say, and do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Hey, BF.
Brent, how are you? Okay.
I'm doing okay. I just saying hey to BF here.
Let me ask you a question. I was on a Zoom meeting the other night, and the moderator muted everyone else. So if they wanted to participate, they had to chat. So I'm just wondering if when we have once the meeting starts, can you mute everyone else so that they can't accidentally voice over us?
Well, you can mute them, but they can unmute themselves where they are. So,
whatever the guy had that we did, we could not unmute ourselves. I don't know if it's a setting that we should investigate, but there are. It would just seem to me it'd run smoother if we could do this. Now.